7 p.m. She really is.
Okay, good evening. I call to order the meeting of the Hamilton Wenham Regional School Committee on Thursday, October 2nd, 2025 at 7 p.m. This meeting is being recorded and live streamed on HW Cam. We do not have anyone participating remotely, so, okay. First order of events is we have an opportunity for citizens' comments. I'm first going to just look and see, Eric, do we have anyone on
Nope.
Zoom?
Nobody on Zoom.
Okay, we'll check back with the Zoom in a minute.
We'll leave it open.
If there's any citizens wishing to make a comment, I will ask you to identify yourself and please spell your last name for us. Amy, if you're willing to time, we'll ask you to limit your comments to 3 minutes.
I've written a letter, and I'm just going to read it.
Okay.
I've written a letter to each one.
So, great.
My name is on there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh. It's okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I have an
Okay.
extra one.
Oh, she's got an extra one. Would you like?
I think so.
Sure.
Right? Yes.
Okay.
Thanks.
Great. So, again, we'll let you know when we get to the 3 minutes, and welcome.
Hi, my name's Sue McLaughlin, and I live at McLaughlin, and I live at 34 Park Street in Hamilton. Before I read my letter, I just would like to ask a question, and I know that this is supposed to be a business meeting, but when you're doing, when you're doing policies and procedures, which you're doing, you're updating your policies and procedures and reviewing them, and I was interested in that the last time. Is there no place in the process for citizens to have input into that? I'm not seeing that that works out that way.
We welcome your input. Now is the time.
Well, I didn't come here for that, but I just was curious about it. Okay. This is about the rainbow flag. I'm a Catholic homeowner whose taxes help to fund the Hamilton Wenham public school system. I'm writing and speaking to inform you that at the last school committee meeting, being forced to sit in this room in which the rainbow flag was prominently displayed, it was a deeply disturbing experience, which resulted in my feeling disenfranchised, disrespected, and unsafe. Charlie Kirk had just been assassinated for speaking out against the morals, values, and lifestyle choices which the Pride Rainbow flag clearly represent. Tragically, as a direct result of deeply polarizing left-wing political rhetoric, we conservative Christians and politically conservative persons are now targeted as dangerous fascist enemies of democracy itself. I was astounded by the blatant disregard of my political and religious beliefs by those who facilitated and structured this school committee meeting. And I ask you, rhetorically, who do you represent? The entire town, or only progressive left-leaning, the majority in our town? In the United States of America, opposing political parties are not enemies. We are all citizens of the United States of America and live in a freedom-loving constitutional republic. I am writing to respectfully demand all rainbow flags hanging in the school properties and classrooms be removed. They represent the views of those who murdered Charlie Kirk and those who inexplicably and abhorrently support his assassination. The rainbow-colored pride flag represents lifestyle choices, values, understandings, which the school department, personnel, and teachers promote and impose unilaterally and indiscriminately on everyone in this town. I reject and condemn these secular values and morals, and I reject the rainbow flag, which now stands for hate and violence of those who speak out against left-wing to those of us who speak out against left-wing ideologies.
30 seconds.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm here to ask you to.
Keep going. You got 30 seconds. Yeah.
Well, it's a lot longer than that, so I would like to just end by saying, "Everyone has the God-given right to freely choose what they do and do not believe, and to live accordingly within the bounds of safety and reason. But no one person, group, or agency has the right to use government to force others to accept, unquestioningly, symbols which represent the demonization and hatred towards them. By definition, this is tyranny.
3 minutes.
I should be able to attend town meetings without being forced to see a rainbow flag prominently displayed. This is the United States of America. We are a diverse country, and in order to promote and maintain peaceful political diversity, it is imperative for all government organizations and schools to
me, that's 3
refrain from
minutes.
picking and choosing political and social winners and losers.
Thank you.
Please live up to your own published standards to fairly represent all the people in Stoughton Hamilton. Take down
Excuse
the
me,
rainbow
that's 3
flags in the
minutes.
school
Thank you.
system.
Thank
Well, It's not like you.
Thank you. And thank you for providing the
Everyone gets
copy.
3 minutes.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Tracy, is there anyone on Zoom who's interested in making a public comment?
There is not.
Okay, so at this time, we will close the public comments on Zoom, and we will close the public comments in the room.
Zoom is closed.
Okay. Next up, Julia, I would ask you if you are willing to read a portion of our protocols, please.
As elected members of the Hamilton Wenham Regional School Committee, we, including the superintendent, accept the high honor and trust that has been placed in us to ensure that the students of the district receive the best education possible. To that end, we hereby commit to the following in conduct of our business. Number 2, the superintendent and the school committee represent the needs and interests of all students in the district and place the students' interests above all others in their decisions while remaining within the limitations of a voter-approved budget.
Thank you. David, would you be willing to read a portion of the mission statement?
Sure. The Hamilton Wenham Regional School District School Committee's mission is to ensure our schools create graduates with a passion for lifelong learning, together with the critical skills needed to maximize their potential. The Hamilton Wenham Regional School Committee will lead and inspire a district that attracts and retains high-quality educators by acknowledging and respecting their expertise and professionalism.
Thank you. All right, next up is the consent agenda. Does any members have any items from the consent agenda that you would like to hold?
No.
Julia, would you be willing to?
I move that the Hamilton Wenham Regional School Committee accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Second by Jen Carr. All those in favor? And that is unanimous of the 5 members present, and the motion passes. Okay. Next to you, Eric, on the MSBA Declaration of Removal.
So this is a document we've been waiting for from the state. They were supposed to get it to us Monday or Tuesday. It did not arrive, so I'm just going to request that we table it. They basically take our letter that we send asking to be removed from the project, and then they send a letter from them that outlines that all the things that have happened along the way. We just have not received that letter, so I don't want to have you vote on something that you can't see. So just ask that we'll put it on next meeting. We just haven't received it yet from the MSBA.
Okay.
Do we need to vote on that?
So we don't have a motion on the table, so we don't need to vote to table it, but I guess I would say is, unless, without objection, I'm just saying, let's just skip this item.
That makes sense.
Thank you.
And Eric will look forward to seeing that next time.
Yep.
Again, my understanding is it's something that they want from us, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, they'll need to send it to us.
We've called, we've emailed.
Okay. So next up is, we discussed this at the last meeting. This is just an update, sort of a reiteration that what is before you is identical to our current protocols, with the exception of the date that is at the top. And there was a discussion last time, and I don't know if it makes sense to start off with a motion, or if,
Yeah, I had a motion to amend.
okay.
And unfortunately, I don't have a copy with me, but I sent it to you in an email.
Okay. Hold on.
And the simplest way to implement it would be just to take that sentence and append it to item 8.
All right, hold on. So, I guess I don't, it's not my motion to make, so I mean, I can give you this and you can read it, it's not. It's okay.
Okay, thank you. So if you read item 8, the current one, and just add this sentence.
David, I can't hear you.
Sorry, if you read item 8 in the current protocol and append this sentence, that was my intent. It reads, in the event that a school committee member wishes to publicly dissent from a school committee decision, this is permitted, comma, so long as the dissenting school committee member clearly states that the opinion is a personal one and not stated on behalf of the school committee.
Okay, so I'm understanding that the motion is to amend or change item 8 to add the sentence that you just read. Is that correct? All right, is there a second?
But doesn't 1 cover that?
So right now, I'm just asking if anyone has a second.
Okay.
I second.
Okay, second by Julia. I'm going to want my computer back. I feel insecure.
I don't want to take that away from you. Thank you. Thank you for the loan.
Okay, so I do have it in front of me. I'm happy to read it again.
Do you mind?
Sure.
Please.
So my understanding of the motion is that the motion is to look at item 8, which, Eric, can you scoot it up so item
Yep,
8 is up
sorry.
there? To add a sentence to item 8 that says, in the event that a school committee member wishes to publicly dissent from a school committee decision, this is permitted so long as the dissenting school committee member clearly states that the opinion is a personal one and not stated on behalf of the school committee. So that's a motion that I heard, and it had a second by Julia. So you heard, I don't know if you had a question, or
I
if you
just
want to
think
start.
that's already covered in number 1.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
Scroll up.
I agree with that, only, I feel like adding that to 8 kind of cancels out the beginning of 8, even though I know it feels like kind of a technicality when we say, when we're speaking publicly, this is only my opinion, but the fact that you're on the school committee has weight, I think, even though you're saying this is only my opinion, especially on a matter that we've already voted on and decided on to move forward. So I feel like having it in 1 kind of covers what you're looking for, David, but also I feel like putting them in the same number kind of cancel each other out. Does that make sense?
I don't know. I kind of think that I'm really split on this. I do think we should be unified in our decisions, but I could see some decisions that I would disagree with, that I would maybe not publicly say, but to friends and family and
Yes.
community members, I would say, I don't support this. For instance, I'm literally thinking about the bus decision that we made that I voted against. obviously I'm upholding it. I mean, I would never speak out publicly against it, but if people ask me, I say, you know, I had concerns and here's why. I was trying to explain my no vote. So I could see how it could be, people would ask you, like, why did you vote no? And you should be able to explain why you did, but then also still be respectful of the committee vote.
Yeah.
So I don't have a problem with that sentence, just for that reason, because I think, you know, we're not all going to agree, and we have to be able to justify our votes, but then also say, you know, obviously I respect the committee's decision. I'm not going to like fight against it, but this is why I voted no, or this is why I might have made a different decision.
Yeah. That's hard. It's a really,
It's a tough one.
Yeah, the concern for me is maybe just some of the language in the sentence, not, I actually think we've had some good conversations so that people do kind of understand that. I mean, I think the bus discussion is a good one, because the point is it says support in item 8, right? So that you need to do what you need to do in order to support that item being successful, being
You need to support the success of the item.
correct. And you need to support the action of the item, even if in other words, let's try to take it out of sort of the real world, but in other words, it was like, you know, we all voted to plant a maple tree in the front of somewhere, let's say, and you really thought that was a bad idea, and then if it wasn't getting done, it would be up to you to say it needs to get done, even though you didn't want it. Like, it's more than just, but that wouldn't prevent you at a cocktail party from saying to someone, I didn't think it was a good idea to plant maple tree. So I guess my concern about the language is not really about sort of what you're trying to get at, but I am worried about the part where, well, two things. I feel like our protocols are
so long.
so overwhelmingly long already. But the second thing I have to say is that I'm actually a little bit concerned about where it says, if in the event that a school committee member wishes to publicly dissent from a school committee decision. While I don't think that is, I don't think that your intent was to say, like, I actually think that's where it gets really hazy. So, like, to Jen's point about protocol number 1, it lays out really clearly in protocol number 1 that, like, if you as a school committee member wanted to stand up and make a public comment at another board, I mean, or something like that, which is something that could really happen, that it's really important that you clarify whether you're speaking for the school committee or as a citizen. Because that's an example of a time that you might be speaking publicly, and that, like, I'm worried about the idea about it being public dissent, because I think public can mean a lot of different things, but I worry about it seeming like it might mean that kind of a thing. Like, it wouldn't be okay for you to get up and make a public statement, like at another board meeting. It would really, I mean, I do understand your point, like, it,
Yeah.
but I'm worried about that. I don't know. You talk, because
Yeah, no, I think the context in which I didn't sign last year was I felt pretty strongly that we were heading down the wrong direction with the whole consolidation project, and I felt it needed dissent to be expressed, and with strong reasoning.
But there's two different things there, and I'm sorry if I'm...
That's okay. Go ahead.
But
Sure.
dissent as a committee member in this room, right? You can dissent as much or as I mean, there's no rule against dissenting here.
No, I understand
But
that.
once the vote is taken, again, to Julia's point, it's okay to express that, I mean, first of all, particularly if you voted in the minority in any kind of a vote, people might ask you,
Why?
I think we've all had that experience. If you vote in the minority, people might say, well, why did you
Why'd you
do that,
Yeah.
you know? And it's certainly acceptable to, but what I would say in this is, I'm going to go back to my maple tree example because that's not a real example and doesn't feel loaded, but like, it really is, my interpretation of everything I've learned is that, and I think in here, is that it's, that you will uphold and support that decision, so that you will support and get that maple tree planted, even if you didn't want it. And I think that one thing you can do to be supportive, the way I interpret it, is if you cannot tolerate the idea of, and again, just for the public's understanding, we're not planting a maple tree, it's just an example.
But I like
But
maple
if you
trees.
can't tolerate that,
Oak trees,
then the
Amy.
best thing you can do to uphold and support is to just is to not get in the way while other
Right.
people do that. So that's my opinion. That's how I interpret this, that it doesn't mean you're not allowed to say something as a citizen, but I don't know.
So David, you don't think number 1 covers what you want?
No, because of 8. 8 really seems to be directed at suppressing dissent.
I don't think so. I think it's uphold and support the decisions of the majority of the committee, once a decision has been made. I mean,
Right, not beforehand, but once a decision has been made.
right, that doesn't prevent us
Like, it
from
would not
dissenting
be-
publicly the entire time before
Like,
something
it
is
would be
voted on.
absolutely not okay for Julia to be continuing a campaign against electric buses right now,
Right,
right? Because that would not be upholding
that's the headline.
decision.
I'm not against electric
I know.
buses.
I also, just for clarity, I also voted no on that. And I've said what I've said about I know we're not talking about that, but I've said many times to people in the public, I voted no because I felt like it was really risky and I was worried about it. And I am so excited to be proven wrong, and I'm so excited to see how this is moving forward. And like, that, to me, is not being dishonest about why I voted a certain way, but it's looking forward to achieving positive results, I hope.
The other thing that concerns me is if you're dissenting publicly after the decision has been made and you're using points of contention that you didn't use in the meeting, are we violating open meeting law? Because you have to discuss it in the meeting before you discuss it in public.
Right, but once a decision is made, I don't know that there's.
That's why I don't know.
Yeah.
That was a question.
Or putting something on the agenda again,
Yep.
trying to get something on the agenda again.
I think that would be the
which has
better way
happened.
to do it, would be to get it on the agenda and express dissent in that form. Then you're not violating open meeting law. But I think otherwise, that's a tricky, it's a tricky rope to walk.
I think the context here is that it wasn't our final decision, that it had to go to a town vote, and that's a political process. And
But I think we've watched, not just with this vote, because I think it's very difficult to talk about this particular vote because this was very supercharged, but we've watched it every town meeting. It's not uncommon at all for you to see, like, the FinCom recommends such and such an action, and it was 4-1, or the Select Board recommends such and such a favorable action, and it was 3-2. Like, it's present there, but they're not, but they are, if they're recommending favorable action, that's what they're recommending. They're not, the dissenting members are not saying, this is why you shouldn't, that's what all the board, they
had that conversation.
have that conversation.
Already.
It's clear that they voted it's posted how they voted, 3-2 or 4-1 or whatever. But when they speak to it at town meeting, they're not providing the dissenting view, they're providing the, this is how we voted. Again, I don't see, though, that this is, I mean, I think Julia made some good points about, like, in real life, you do have the right to speak your mind outside of, it really is, it's very difficult for members of the public to understand and know whether you're speaking as an individual, whether you're speaking as a school committee member, because you're always a school committee member. They
Right.
know you are a school committee member.
I think people understand, but even so, it's not a flip of a switch. If it comes from a member of the school committee, it still holds a lot of weight. So I think it's something we have to be really careful about.
Can I ask a question, and you don't have to answer this if I feel, but I heard you saying, if this, because I really want to stick with what you're proposing and not, we don't have to talk about how you feel, but I sort of heard you saying that you felt like these protocols don't allow for dissent. I guess I'm not sure, or could you just tell more about that? Like, I don't, like...
Well, that's how I read 8 as, and will uphold and support the decisions of the majority of the committee once the decision's been made, which basically, the way I read it was open and shut.
But you had a chance to dissent. We aren't saying that you can't dissent. We're saying that once the decision is made, after you've done your dissent, that decision has to be supported.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that you have to write a letter in support. I think it just means publishing something that is the opposite of the way the committee is going, feels like it's in violation of number 8. I don't know.
And I guess I don't know how to thread this needle, because I actually feel like number 8 is fine and the protocols are fine. At the same time, I actually think we don't disagree. The reality is that people can say, I'm saying this as an individual, and that does kind of cover it, right? You've said it. And so I'm like,
You think number one
yeah,
covers
no,
this?
but I'm just saying, even standing up at a meeting, number 1 sort of says, if you, all you have to do is identify that you're, I guess I'm sort of torn, because in a black and white action, and that's kind of how I think protocols should be. It basically says they will speak as individuals. You need to just get up and announce that this is how I'm speaking as an individual. Separately, as a person, I'm kind of trying to say, and maybe I should not worry about it. I guess that covers it. As long as somebody says they're an individual, they're an individual. Separately, I'm sort of saying, living in the community, we all have experienced times where someone may not understand whether you're speaking as a school committee member or as an individual. I'm talking about if you're just standing at a soccer field, or you're, I don't know.
I agree, and I also think, I do agree, now that I'm thinking about it, there are lots of times to publicly dissent in these meetings, so people know how you feel, and they know what you stand for, and they understand your no vote speaks louder than words, louder than anything. Yeah, but I do think I think you have a problem with supporting. So upholding, you probably don't have a problem with, but it's the word support that you probably have a problem with.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think all of us need to sort of really think about,
Generally speaking, not. Generally speaking, you have to support
David, I
decisions
can't hear a word you're saying.
Sorry, generally speaking, you've got to
So
support
soft-spoken.
the decisions of the committee, unless it is, in your view, so egregious that it's important to communicate to the voters.
But you
Why?
We can't pick and choose like when to uphold this and when to not, like whether or not you think it's egregious, it's the rule.
Do you think the time for that would be like during campaign time?
What do you mean?
I guess all I'm trying to, here's what I'm trying to say is, I actually think,
Like, I didn't agree with the committee on this, and I don't know.
and I guess what I'm trying to say, I'm trying to thread a needle here because
Yeah, it's a
I don't
needle.
think it's a good practice to stand up publicly and say, I voted no, and, there's no such thing as school committee, like, they're not gonna come and
Right,
get
yes.
you and put you in like school committee jail for doing something. Like, in other words, it's good practice to have it be clear, like, the school committee voted in favor of X. Just like when we hear the select board is in favor, like, you know, it's, but yes, like, people will do things like that. In other words, like, people could say, like, if you were in that's a good example, if you're in a campaign, someone could say, you know, I voted against the maple tree that, you know, whatever. But you wouldn't be able to say,
I don't support it.
well, or you wouldn't be able to say, you wouldn't be able to represent that, like, you couldn't say, or I think you couldn't say, like, well, you know, the school committee didn't really want that maple tree. Like,
All right.
you know what I mean? Because that's not what happened.
Undermining.
Like, that's not what happened. You know,
Okay.
I don't know. We might just be going in circles.
I think the protocols are fine. I do think the protocols are fine. I think number one covers it. I changed my mind. I think number one covers speaking as an individual. I think we all have to make a decision on the level of support we have for votes. Like, are we publicly going out there and being like, I really support this, I love it, like, this, go? Or are we just sort of dissenting publicly in a meeting and letting our voters, our community, everybody know how we feel? I don't know.
If it is my opinion, and then but if it helps, like, I don't think that this sentence is a false statement. Like, I think this sentence about if you wish to dissent, you need to make it, it's basically saying you need to make it really clear that this is your personal opinion. I don't think that that's false. I just think putting it in here under number 8, I think somebody sort of said it just makes it kind of seem like, well, you should uphold the decisions, but if you don't want to, you can go ahead and do, it's like, but this is not a false statement. This is the rule. Like, if you want to, and this is the rule, like, you need to make it really clear that you're speaking as an individual, so this is true. Like, and I guess I'm not sure, and again, this is none of my business, like, I'm not sure why you feel like these protocols prevented you from doing this, because I feel like the existing protocols say that you can do what you want as long as you're very clear that you're an individual. So I don't know what you felt like you weren't allowed to do. And that's not something that you have to answer. I'm just,
I'd like to move to vote.
Move the question.
all right.
Move the question.
All right, so,
Sorry.
no, that's okay. So there was a motion to end debate and move to vote, and I think I heard a second. All right, so first, we're going to vote on whether or not we're going to vote. All right?
Right,
So
right, right.
the only thing we're discussing right now, the only thing we're going to vote on right now is whether to end, so if you want to end discussion and vote, you should vote yes. If you want to continue discussion, you should vote no. Anybody have questions? All right, all those in favor? All right, looks like that is unanimous, and we are ready to vote. Okay, so now we're back to the original motion, which was to approve the protocols with the addition of this sentence, which I'm happy to read again if anyone needs it. No? Okay. All right, so that's the motion on the table. All those in favor? 1. Those opposed? 4. The motion fails, 1 to 4 of the 5 members present. Does anyone else have any other motions on this?
No.
Well,
I move that we approve the school committee protocols 2025-2026 as listed in the agenda.
All right, I heard a motion and a second. Is there discussion? Okay. All right. All those in favor? That is 4. Those opposed? 1, and the motion passes 4 to 1. Okay. Thank you all for doing that.
We have a copy for everybody to sign before they leave.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you to you and to Janelle for that. All right, next up is to you, Eric, the proposed superintendent goals.
Thank you very much. Every year, we do this in step with our district goals, which we work on during the summer, and we present early in the school committee year, and this is the kind of the next step of the connection back to district goals. It also serves as a connector for our school level goals as well, as school improvement plans, which you'll see at next meeting. The process for evaluation of superintendents is based around 4 standards: instructional leadership, management and operations, family community engagement, and then professional culture. I've tried to create goals that link back to some segment or indicator within each of those goals. So the first one is really improving instructional leadership. We have been really working hard this summer with the leadership team, trying to help them to improve their instructional leadership and their instructional understanding of instructional practices in the classroom. We worked together on a book called Now We're Talking, and part of that is connected to weekly reflection series that we send out to them to help them to begin to understand this process that we're moving into. Essentially what happens is the principals, we've asked them to try to get into 3 classrooms a day, which is an enormous amount of classroom time, but we feel like that's really the priority of their job, and it's been hard to have a principal shift from the usual strength of a building principal becomes management and operations, because you're always putting out fires and doing things. We're trying to flip that over so that their focus is always primary instructional leadership. So as part of my role in doing that is helping them to develop and implement their walkthrough plans, walking with them. We're walking with them during many of these walkthroughs. We schedule them, as you know, we schedule them throughout the year. And then we're trying to get feedback back to the teachers more quickly so that the principal doesn't come into a room and then disappear, and the teacher is left wondering what happened. Was it good? Was it bad? Did it, so we're really trying to change our operation in how we communicate quality and the qualities that we're looking for within good instruction. The beauty of here is we have a lot of good examples. The harder part is sharing those examples, so teachers get really isolated. Once you go into your classroom, you're in your classroom. You might go out for the lunch or bathroom or duty or something, but you're back in your classroom, so you don't get enough opportunities to learn from each other in the way it works. So the design of this is really to give me the opportunity to work one-to-one with the principals, but also working with our director of teaching and learning to connect the dots back to the high-quality instructional materials that she's implementing at the same time. So they need to now have a really strong understanding of these materials so that they can have these conversations related to the instructional things that they're seeing in classrooms, or even helping a new teacher, for example, a brand-new teacher is going to need help along the way, giving them opportunities to pair up with a mentor teacher, giving them opportunities to observe other teachers in action that may do a really good job in a particular subject area. So this is really me pressing on our leadership team to improve their instructional leadership. That's specifically what it is. This is a year-long goal. They get a weekly reflection that we send to them, and we're tracking as part of their evaluation. It is really the number one piece of their evaluation during the school year, and this goal outlines that whole process. We are working with a consultant that helped us last year with our curriculum implementation, so now we're kind of trying to thread the needle here. I don't know if you want to do these one at a time, or questions? Or?
Just a quick question,
Yeah.
Eric. What does TNTP mean?
It's the teaching network, teachers network for teaching professionals. I think that's right.
I just never heard that acronym.
Yeah,
so that's why I-
it's a consulting group that Department of Education uses to help implement high-quality instructional materials. They also do things like this with kind of leadership teams across districts. They're a national group,
Their website doesn't even say, it just says TNTP.
TNTP.
Hilariously, I just interpreted it that was going to be the acronym for the book above it, which of course is nothing like it. It would be like NWA.
NWAT. Now what?
But in my mind, I was like, oh yeah, that's related to that book. No. I think while we're on it, other questions or thoughts about this goal?
No.
Goal 2, very straightforward, completing a strategic plan. As you all know, our strategic plan will end at the end of this school year. It gave us a good base and good baseline to get things like MTSS up and running and really focused. This next strategic plan will need to take in a whole lot of different avenues related to the future. Like, where do we want to go? What are we looking for? How do we want to be, 5 years from now or 10 years from now? So it'll include a lot more depth, I think, than the previous one. So looking at the same type of a process, 3 to 5 year, hoping to lean into a 5-year so that we can, the 3-year was really quick. Like, you started it and it was poof, you were done. But similar process, we want to do some more community information gathering and do kind of like reverse forums to be able to say, okay, come tell us, like, here's the things that we have, like, really get the information out there and then get that feedback. And then come up with our plan so that we have something to start next school year with, which will give us the basis for our goal setting again for the next few years. So, questions on that? Last time we did this, we did it with a consultant. Jen Clifford and I really feel like we can run this in-house. It's a lengthy process, but it's important, I think, for the two of us to kind of be in the middle of all this, to hear that information, gather that information, and try to synthesize it all so that we can continue to keep the kind of connecting the dots for people along the way. So.
I like the focus on, community information gathering and inviting everyone to be a part of this. So I think the community needs to know that.
Yeah. We're looking at feedback loops. We're trying to figure out different ways to get feedback loops into the general public, not the school. Like, I can reach the school people in an email. Outside of that, how do I connect that to the people within the community? It may be, somebody who's 75 and doesn't have any connection with the schools at all other than what they see when they drive by. So it's I want to be able to connect that and also bring more kids in. Last time it was hard to get kids involved, but I'd like to see more kids involved in that process. I think it's important for them to get their voice in the middle of it all. So we're going to try to make it fit between sports seasons and all that stuff so they can join us.
This, I don't know if this is, in other words, having an existing strategic plan, like, how do you, what do you see as, how do you use the existing plan for this?
Yep.
In other words, what is the,
So you really look at the outcomes So you take the existing plan, so go back to the end of each year, we did the district report on the district goals. So that all is connected to the strategic plan. So you take those 3 years of outcomes, and I think that's where you really start. Like, okay, here's what we set out to do, here's what we did, here's what we didn't do. And then decide, do we want to continue down the road of what we didn't do, or do we want to strengthen something we already did, or do we want to do something totally different? So I think you need to use the outcomes of the current strategic plan as part of your foundational conversations. You'll say, okay, here are all the things that occurred. We did not hit every single goal, and here's why, and here, so I think that's a great conversation starter for, okay, where do we go from here? And then you have to connect that to that shared vision piece. Like, what do people see, or where do people see the school community, the school district in 10 years? That's a hard question. I mean, we've been all on visioning sessions and things like that, and it's really hard to answer. You go back to some of the visioning sessions, and 70% of it doesn't come true. So, okay, but we still need to think big and try to figure out how do we pull that all of the pieces together so that we have a coherent, cohesive plan to move forward.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
That's very helpful.
Who do you want on the strategic planning committee?
We would open it up to the same group we did last time. It was really everybody. We grabbed teachers, administrators, students, parents. We had some community members, school committee people. So anybody that would like to join us. We had a group that ebbed and flowed between 45 and 60 people. And and people came when they could come, and it was, I think we had 6 sessions. So it'd be that's similar makeup. We try to get as many people involved. It just generates more ideas. It's easier to generate more ideas than 10 people in a room. So, All right, goal number 3. This has been on the back burner, kind of. We want to pull this to the front burner, and I will take this on. Examine school start time changes, and really trying to get this started now. You'll see tomorrow the first survey will go out in the weekly, as long as the school gets approved tonight. But this survey will go out in the weekly. It's a comparative survey to the last one we did last year. We'll pull all that data together and start there. We'll get some committee members, and again, I think it's a group of people. In talking to other principals, a couple of people made some good points, and a couple of superintendents said the same thing. You want to get people in the groups that are impacted. Like, okay, you need elementary parents, you need middle school, you need high school parents, but you also need some of those older kids that are impacted by athletics or jobs or things they do voluntarily, and then bring in people from the bus company. So it's going to be interesting, the mix of people that would be part of this, but there are really, it's hard to know exactly where the bumps in the road will be, because each district is different. There are some things that are very straightforward, like athletics is a problem. Everybody knows it. Transportation is a problem. Everybody knows it. Who's going to pick my, 4th grader up at the bus stop on the way home? Who's going to be with them after school? So all those things will be important discussions to have, and I think that's, if I can get this thing started in the next month or so, and then hit this timeline of March, that buys time to bring it back to the committee, determine a direction, and then advertise that, and really get it out there. So.
Should the review existing survey data, that's dated May 2026, is that right?
No, it was 20,
May
it was last year,
2025.
sorry, thank you. That's, May is incorrect, thank you.
I think May is correct. I think it's,
I thought it was 2025.
It is, sorry, thank you.
I just wanted to, this is a question, I thought was a really thoughtful answer in the discussion in the strategic plan, talking about broadening out and talking about community and, and getting input. Are there, I don't know the answer, but I was just thinking about, are there any other groups in the community that we should think about that might be impacted that aren't, I mean, in other words, I'm thinking, like, obviously, like, maybe the rec department
Yeah.
or the community
Community
house,
house,
like, in
yeah.
other words, that we want to have their input.
Yep.
And there might be others those are something I can think about. It's possible that there are other,
Yeah, any of the after-school programs,
Right.
before-school programs,
right,
like
but,
there's
I mean, there could even be, I can't think of what it is, but like,
the musical instrument program that takes place after school, like
Yeah.
all of those things would have to be,
yeah, but I'm just
included.
thinking even community-wise, like, there could be other community impacts that we aren't capturing, like, I don't know, I just would want to
Yeah.
think about that, like,
somebody
really.
come out in those discussions, it maybe somebody says, well, what about this? And,
You're right.
okay, yeah, you're right. 'cause
Right, and like I'm thinking about like it could be like a church program or, something that that isn't within the confines of the school that we might not be realizing about, or something like that, that just
Right.
might be important to just get as much input about.
Dance class.
Right, I think
And
I
could
think
be-
there were
and it-
programs.
And it could be
Yeah.
not necessarily negative, it could be positive, it could be
Right.
programs that have, like, whatever, early morning or late or afternoon childcare that we don't know about that are actually flexible. It could be, just resources could be.
Yep.
Yeah, I think there are community programs that were affected by the Wednesday decision, definitely. So we should talk to like the community house, the rec department, like you're saying.
And I'm just sort of trying, I can't come up with them because I don't know what they might be. I'm thinking we need to think beyond those ones that we know about and think about, like, are there other things that are resources for people who might be using that aren't sort of part of our normal thought process, but could be helpful or could be impacted?
I mean, part of that investigation includes like a recycling of information. That sounds like a weird word, I guess, to use, but to get all that initial information and then put it out there, like, okay, take a look at this, what have we missed? Because you may have somebody that just says, oh, wait a minute, they didn't include this. So we're hoping to, again, expand our reach a little bit. It's more of a, you're kind of guessing unless that particular thing shows up on your doorstep, so.
Are there some quantitative outcomes at the end of the 5 and 10 years that you want to bring into focus, like our rankings in the state? I was just reading the
For
rankings.
indicators of success.
I'm sorry, 5 and 10 years, what?
At the end, either a quantitative scores on standardized tests of some kind or other that you want to reach on average, or you want to reach a certain level of ranking.
Because of the change in school start time?
No, just
Oh, I thought we were talking about.
sorry, I'm probably going back to
Side.
the first step, which is saying, because you're saying you're going to have a 5 and 10 year strategic plan.
Oh, the strategic
The
plan.
question is, at the end of that planning period, how will you know that you've been successful? What are the metrics?
Yeah, it's part of the
some-
process.
And some of the metrics could be our ranking and I've got no particular preference
yeah.
on the ranking system, and or scores in specific subjects, rankings or declared levels of where you are right now and where you want to drive the school to, because then a lot of what the planning is about is testing it again. Is that going to improve that metric?
Yeah.
Well, and, I mean, I think on to the strategic plan, like the indicators of success of the goal are listed here.
Yeah,
But I
strategic
think
plan would be different.
Within
yeah.
the
That's a
strategic,
different
I think,
document. Yeah.
right, but in other words, part of when the strategic plan arrives, I think what you're talking about is, you're looking for that within the strategic plan for it to have clear benchmarks of how we would know if the strategic plan is successful, is that correct?
Yeah.
And it's also a way of the school committee expressing what aspirations they have for the
For the-
superintendent to achieve.
For the in the strategic plan, things
Yeah.
that should be in
Yeah.
this, right?
Sorry, I thought you were talking about this one. I was like,
Yes, sorry.
all right, goal 4, active advocacy and networking. As I've moved into my 5th year, As superintendent here, I've found myself involved in many professional associations, including the Superintendent's Network, Association of School Superintendents, member of the Mass Legislative Committee, Graduation Think Tank Subcommittee, which is a subcommittee of a state group that's currently rejiggering the graduation requirements with the loss of MCAS. Member and Vice President of North Shore Superintendent's Roundtable and Board of the Northeast Consortium. And I think what I would like to do, I was trying to figure out a way to bring you more pertinent information related to some of the things that are happening at the state level. And I was thinking of once a month having, okay, these things are happening at the legislative level. This is what's going on at the State House. And just have kind of a one-pager for part of my superintendent's report, like, okay, here are some things you might want to keep your eye on. I think that's one of the things that I have not done a good job with, getting that information back to this group. So I think this would kind of put me in that realm of thinking, but also being involved in all these groups has now given me, opened my eyes to a lot of things that are going on at the state level, and has given me some good insight too.
I have to say, I love the term active advocacy. I think, you could just say like participate in and networking, but active advocacy, I feel like is a stronger word. And I appreciated that. And thank you for participating in all these committees on our behalf. But I would definitely love more updates if you can give them to us, and how can we support you in this work?
That's kind of the plan, to be able to make that a
Because
little
I know there was a point with the free lunches that you came to us and said it would be great if we could sign something, or if we could lend our support. I mean, if there's anything like that, I think we would all really love to see it.
Even opportunity for feedback, like state feedback, so the
Yeah.
graduation, MCAS got voted out as no longer a graduation requirement, and the state is doing a portrait of the graduate as a replacement, which is already bumping up against the things that we've done in our district, plus many other districts. But they're moving forward with that. So what does that look like? What are the opportunities for you as committee members to speak publicly about it? There are a lot of things that I have now realized in working more at the State House level that we could chime in on as advocates or not. You may not want something, but at least making you aware of that and those opportunities. So I think that's part of, in my conversations with the group of superintendents that I work with, like trying to make that a better piece of what I do, and it's not really been there, and I think I honestly didn't know about it until I started having a conversation with other supers about what types of information you bring back to your committee. So that's where this kind of stems from. So I think it'll be interesting for me, but also for you to kind of get a different view.
Well, I mean, I spoke briefly with Eric about it. I mean, I think it is an opportunity. Like, I know that sometimes we got, I think it was today from the MASC, something about graduation requirements. And, oftentimes we get something like that from the MASC and you read it, but it's sort of like, well, okay. Like,
Right.
It's like too late for it to actually,
Right, exactly.
For
Like,
that
so
year.
it's an opportunity for us to, hear what you're doing and how we might provide feedback, or, which, might be challenging.
Yeah.
Because, we don't, to David's point, we don't always provide unified feedback, so,
It just gives us an opportunity. The advocacy piece is a role I've never played, but I realize in looking at many of the bills that are being moved through, there are many school districts that advocate well. Whether they're paying people to do it or not, it's a different story, but they end up, in this big, long 20-page bill, the town of so-and-so gets $100,000 to fix this. There's a lot of things tucked into bills that we may be able to take advantage of. I don't know, and like I said, this is new ground for me, but I think it's important for us to at least open that door.
all right.
And those are my goals for this year.
Do you want a motion?
Yeah, let's have a motion, and then we could still, go ahead.
I move that the school committee accept the superintendent's goals for the school year 2025-2026 as presented.
Second?
I heard a second. I was going to make a friendly amendment. It's not entirely as presented because we had a date change.
The
in
date
there.
change. With the friendly amendment of the date change to May 2025.
All right, so I heard a motion and a second by Jen Carr. Is there further questions or discussion?
A quick question on goal 4. You talk about for indicators of success being members of these groups, but I read this more as not just being a member, but communicating the information that you get as a member of these groups. But there's nothing in your indicators about communicating that.
You're absolutely right.
Can we fix it?
Which is fascinating, because Dana and I had a
We had
conversation
a
about
big
this.
conversation
And I
about
said, I
it.
want to add a communication to once a month to the committee, to my
Yeah.
superintendent's report, so that people have it. So I should add that in there.
Okay.
There are other, so we have a motion on the table.
With two friendly amendments,
Two friendly.
maybe?
Well,
The date change?
somebody would have to make a friendly amendment if they wanted to, I guess, and we'll see.
I make a friendly amendment that in the indicators of success for goal number 4 is a communication goal.
Second.
All right, so you were accepting that? Are you? You made
I
the,
accept
Yeah.
the two friendly amendments.
so is everyone clear on what the motion is before us, which is them as presented with an extra indicator on goal number 4 around communication and the date change that we discussed? All right, is there any further discussion? All right, looks like we're ready to vote. All those in favor? That is 5 in favor, and that is unanimous of the 5 members present, and the motion passes. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
Next up, this is just informational. This is all information that you already have and has already been put out publicly, but I just want opportunities for the public to hear us and for everybody here to remember. We've worked, I've spoken with the chair of the Wenham Select Board, and we are planning to meet jointly on Tuesday, October 21st. That will be a joint meeting with the Wenham Select Board at 6:30 PM here, I believe. We're going to meet here. And the purpose of our participation in that meeting will be to appoint a Wenham resident to fill the vacant school committee seat. Just so the public can hear, I know you guys all know, but just so they can hear, once again, if anyone's listening to this, that that person would then serve until April, and then they could choose to run. That term will have 2 more years. So that would be the duration of that term. And then, so anybody have any questions on that? So then, if you, the next item is these are interview questions that we have used in previous appointments. I did speak with Ben Timon, who is the chair of the Wenham Select Board, because they were not involved the last time that we made an appointment, so they haven't done this in a little bit. But I did share this document with them. I know that they are going to discuss it at their next Select Board meeting. You'll see that 2 of these are in italics. This is just what we did in the past. It doesn't mean it's what we have done before. We don't have to do. That's what I'm looking for feedback. But the 2 that are in italics, which is number 4 and number 5, in our past couple of stints where we've appointed someone, we had the select board ask these two questions. They were not always worded exactly this way, but basically, one was a question regarding the budget, like the budget process, and one, so that's number 4, and then number 5 is a question around, it's been posed as like a question around communication and community relations. So I guess I'm looking for feedback and discussion about like what we did last time, which is not necessarily what we're gonna do, but last time what we did is this committee sort of agreed on to ask questions 1, 2, 3, and 6, and we sort of let the select board frame, like, we gave them guidance that it should be about the budget and communications, and we kind of let them do it. That's not the only way to do it. If we don't like these questions, we can designate individuals to write questions, we can, whatever. So I don't know if you want to start at the top, or if people have reviewed the whole thing, or what you think. I'll stop talking and see what people think.
I like what we did last time. I thought it was fine.
Yeah, I feel like these questions have served us well in the past. And we're allowed to ask additional questions during,
I
Right?
guess.
Like,
If we have them.
follow-up questions
We
or
can't
like.
stop you.
I'd like to see you try.
Much like the protocols, like, like, these are the questions. No, there's no rule that we're not going to let you talk. So, did you have something to say?
Yeah, to your point, you sometimes want to ask a follow-up question based on the answer you got.
I think that the only thing, and then I did speak with the chair of Wenham about this, is that the important thing is that each of the candidates, however many we get, you couldn't just ask a question to one candidate. You would need to ask all the candidates, have an opportunity to answer each question, and then each candidate gets a chance sometimes to go first, to go second,
Right.
so even if, I mean, it would be a tricky thing if you just were like, can you explain how being a, whatever your job is related to this? You wouldn't ask it to just one person, you'd have to ask it
Okay.
Well,
to
sure.
everyone.
Can we add a question that asks them if they have any questions?
Oh, you know what? It's interesting. That used to be on here, and I don't know
Right.
why it's not. Maybe we didn't ask it last time.
It didn't get asked for the last time, but I
Okay.
think it shows us something about the candidates.
So that, yes, it was on for, and I don't, this is just a, so that's something we
Yeah.
can vote on. Do people have other things they want to?
No.
I mean, one thing we could do is we could, well, I don't know how you want to do this. We could, I mean, I guess my 2 questions are we comfortable with the 1, 2, 3, and 6 questions? I heard an interest in adding one more. That's one question. The second thing is, are we comfortable with having the Wenham Select Board ask those 2 questions and letting them,
Yeah.
like,
Wordsmith them.
wordsmith
so.
how they want to? So,
You think they'll change it a lot?
I mean, I genuinely don't know, and neither, in other words, the chair doesn't know, because he hasn't brought it to them
Okay.
yet. I mean, what we sort of said, I mean, I think, in general, in other words, a question about budget and a question about communications and community seem like
Standard.
good questions.
Yeah.
They seem like good questions.
I'm comfortable with that.
All right, so let's look at Julia and see what you got for a motion.
Oh, is there we have to vote on these questions? I move that are we voting on the seat procedures and timing, or just voting on the questions?
On the questions.
Okay,
Yeah, no, the
I-
procedures have already been.
because I know the listed thing on the agenda. Okay, I move that the school committee approve the questions for the vacant school committee seat applicants as presented.
Second.
Okay, so I heard a motion and a second.
Oh, and then we have a friendly amendment.
Well, we have a couple things.
With the amendment of an additional question that says, do you have any questions?
Okay. Discussion? Okay, so I have some discussion. So I'm worried about, I don't want our motion, this is just in the weeds, but I don't want our motion to make it seem like that those questions 4 and 5 can't be wordsmithed by the Wenham Select Board. Do you see what I'm saying?
So we're just voting on 1, 2, 3, and 6?
I can see I was not
I'm
making
tired.
myself clear because everyone had a blank look on their face.
So we're just voting on 1, 2, 3, and 6?
Well, no, right now, the motion on the table is to approve this document,
Plus,
plus the
Question of
additional question of, do you have any more
I
questions?
think we can do that and then give it to them, and then I don't know what
Okay.
they're going to do with it, but.
Oh, no, right, that's, okay. And then we can, I think that works, that we're comfortable with these questions.
These are the questions that we are comfortable with.
Okay, but in other words, like.
We're hoping that they will be as well.
Well, no, but we can go ahead and vote.
Okay.
But I'm preparing you that I'm gonna vote no, because,
Why?
because I'm not making myself clear
Okay,
what I'm saying.
do we need to rescind the
Oh,
motion?
no, you guys do what you want to do.
well, I want to hear what you want to do.
My
I just
concern
understand.
is that what I was trying to present is that I was trying to present that what we did this with the Hamilton Select Board, we allowed the Hamilton Select Board to write questions 4 and 5, which are in italics, how they wanted to. We did say to them, we'd like them to be a question about budget and a question about communications. But we didn't say this is the wording.
Okay.
And I'm fearful that the thing that we have before us is saying, this is the wording. This is-
No, I think the motion on the table is we approve these questions.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, to me,
And that we're not concerned if they choose to ask a different question.
Right.
yeah,
Okay, that's fair.
Yes.
right?
All right. We ready to vote?
Yes.
All right. Everybody's clear on the motion with the addition of the extra question about more questions?
Yes. I don't have a question about the question.
A question about the questions.
All right, all those in favor? All right, and that is unanimous of the 5 members present. And I will strive heartily to accurately communicate that to the Wenham Select Board.
I know what you're saying.
Okay. Give me 1 second here. Okay. So, next, and everybody's good to go on that date, the October 21st date. And I know, I'm hoping you're going to be able to come to Zoom in, maybe?
I should be able to zoom in.
Yeah. So that would be
Out of
good.
state,
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Wrong time zone.
So, yeah. And it'll be here, so it'll be the same as if you were just zooming into a school committee meeting.
There's one applicant so far, right?
So far, we have one, but there's.
And when is the
but there's
deadline
still
again?
plenty of time. It's October 15th,
October 15, okay.
is that right? I don't want to say it wrong.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Let's just pull it up to make sure. I certainly don't want to get that wrong. Yeah, they have until October 15th. So there's still plenty of time for people to get applications in. Okay, so next up, we put this on here because we sort of talked about it last time. We are down a member. We do need a member to fill in on the negotiations subcommittee and a member to fill the space on the policy subcommittee. Given that we know we'll have a new member on October 21st, I'm just.
Do we want to
looking-
table those?
Well,
Because Megan is not here, and because we're going to have a new member. I think we should table them, but I don't know how urgent it is.
well, go ahead and make a motion.
Okay, I move that we table items E and F appointing members to fill the negotiation subcommittee and the policy subcommittee until we have all members present and we have the new school committee member appointed.
Second.
But with that, I would say, is this something we definitely need to do? Like, you
So,
need
yeah,
these
so we have
people
a, I mean,
now.
we have a motion to table and we have a second, so, I mean, we can discuss.
We can discuss
I have
now.
no problem, I have no concern about the timing. The cringe I made is that I'm hesitant to table something and require that all members are present.
Oh,
in order,
Because that could mean. we never
because
That'll never happen.
that is like,
okay.
so.
So I will
it's
do a
like-
friendly amendment.
Until we have 7 members,
Until we have 7 members on
that's what you
the
meant by that,
committee.
then I'm comfortable with that, but like, I'm not, I
I can amend that to not all members being present, but until we have a full committee of 7 members.
It's a good distinction.
It is a good distinction.
Do you guys need somebody on negotiations?
That was my other
I know they're
question.
ongoing.
Well, we're not in active negotiations right this second.
Okay.
So,
That was my question.
so no, but I would say, I mean, you could say too, I would like someone, I'm okay tabling this, but I would like someone quickly, right after that.
Yeah, because of the regional
Yeah, there are things that would be,
district that we're.
And what about policy?
I think we can
Yeah,
wait
I'm not
until-
worried about
yeah.
policy. I was worried about negotiations.
Yep.
yeah, I mean, I
Okay.
guess I'm saying I would
Because I made that
I would like to
motion
do it pretty
without
quick,
asking
right
that
after.
question. Without thinking.
No, that's why we're to have a
No, that's
discussion.
good, yeah, it was a motion, it wasn't, so, all right, is there further discussion on that? All right, so this is a motion to table the two, filling the 2 subcommittee vacancy seats until we have a full 7-member school committee, all the seats filled on school committee. All right, all those in favor? That is 5 in favor, and the motion to table passes. Okay. Next up, I'm going to give a super brief update on the regional agreement. It'd be good if I could find my notes. Here it is. Okay, so I just wanted to give sort of an update. I don't think any of this is actually going to be really new information. I think if you guys have been, it's been going on a really long time. But we're at the stage that we're on right now is that we've all put our proposals out there. So I wanted to just sort of tell you what we have put forward, the committee has put, and the district have put forward as our proposals. So basically the proposals, we are looking in several areas of the agreement to align several portions of the regional agreement with Mass General Law and to align with our current practices and procedures. So we have made proposals to the election procedures, which is specifically the way in which school committee members are elected. And we're looking to align that language with Mass General Law and also with current practice. So that's something that is, we're trying to update language throughout to modernize the language to reflect current laws and current practices. That's our goal throughout the document. I just mentioned the election procedures, that is a very specific thing that we are looking for. The other thing that we have talked about many times here is changing the apportionment, the way, so currently apportionment is based on the enrollment numbers, number of students enrolled in our schools from each town. Currently, that's a 3-year rolling average, and the district has put forward that we'd like to move that to a 5-year rolling average, and the purpose of that is to smooth out some of the swings, as the apportionment could swing back and forth. It's not to say that those shifts wouldn't happen, they would just happen more gradually and provide sort of less sort of shockwaves to each district, to each community. So both towns have made proposals as well. Legal counsels for us and the towns are reviewing the proposals, and the next steps will be to kind of see where there are areas of agreement, disagreement, and ultimately, the changes would need to be approved by each, like this committee, the select boards would need to look at them. They need to be approved by DESI, and in the end, they need to be approved by the voters at town meeting. So just so everyone knows, like, it's all going to be out there.
It's actually a new step,
Oh, good.
some of the updates.
Oh, good, a new step.
So I still can't figure out why they did it this way, but there's a department in DESI that
Oh,
has to
yes, you
approve
told
it, and then the commissioner then has to approve it.
Right.
Then it goes to the
It gets to do a
voters.
two-step in DESI.
Those things have to happen before it goes to the voter. Yeah, they just updated that this past summer.
Right, but I think that would happen, my understanding is that would happen after it got brought to all three entities, so like the select boards and the school committee collectively would send it to DESI,
And then to town meeting?
and then
Then
to
town meeting.
town meeting. So because DESI needs to approve the document,
Right.
so if DESI were to say this isn't whatever, then we couldn't bring it to the voters because it wouldn't have been approved by DESI.
That makes sense. But if it gets stuck, or if it doesn't pass a town meeting, we
Would
have to amend it, we have to start back at DESI?
So it's a great question, and I don't know the answer, but I will say that as with, we have a current agreement.
Right.
So that agreement is in place.
That's standing, yeah, I understand
Standing.
that.
So if,
Yeah, I don't think we would be without a regional
No.
agreement. I just mean, at what point in that process do we have to like go back to, I guess we'll just figure it out.
we'll
if
just
that
see,
happens.
it's a long, complicated
Just curious.
process, so,
Yeah, it's very complicated.
yeah, it
Thank you
is.
for doing all
Yeah,
that work.
it's
That's a
been,
lot.
yeah, it's before, this started before I was on the committee. This has
A
been.
long time
a
before you were on the
long time.
committee.
So this is, yeah. So, anybody else have any questions on that?
Thanks for the update.
All right. To you, Vinnie.
So I will be brief tonight. Thank you for letting me speak. I'm here to request a transfer from our capital stabilization fund to our athletic complex fund. For some background, and for those of you, excuse me, who are not on the committee at the time, and as I laid out in the memo that's linked to the exhibit, during the calendar year 2023 annual town meeting, the district requested an appropriation of $15 million for upgrades to our athletic complex. At that same town meeting, we sought approval for our FY24 operating budget. Within that operating budget was a contribution to our capital stabilization fund for $1,698,287. And at that same town meeting, there was a promise that was made, unofficial at the time, that we would put that $1.6 million towards the project, ultimately lowering the overall tax burden that that project would have on the community. So tonight, all I'm simply asking is that if you want to make that promise official, we have to take a vote. I have included an example motion for you to take and can answer any questions you might have.
Do you want the motion first?
Sure.
I appreciate you spelling out the numbers also. I move that the Hamilton Wenham Regional District appropriate the sum of $1,698,287 from the Hamilton Wenham Regional School District Capital Stabilization Fund, which was established pursuant to MGL Chapter 71, Section 16G and a half, for the Hamilton Wenham Regional High School Athletic Complex Improvement Project Fund for the purpose of constructing, equipping, and making improvements to the athletic complex.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Jen Carr. All right, anybody have questions for Vinnie?
A couple. So how much does that leave us in our capitalization fund?
Stabilization fund, approximately $500,000, so about 400,000. There is subject to the roof feasibility study, which we're estimating is going to be around 150. So at the end, it could be about 350-ish. It is still collecting interest that hasn't been accumulated yet this year, so it will be a little bit higher than that. But
Okay, and if
roughly.
we don't transfer this, what are the consequences?
The community would ultimately have to borrow the funds under a long-term borrowing and pay back that additional 1.6 million and be taxed,
Okay.
to do so.
Last question, do we know what the final bill on the project is yet?
Not yet,
Not yet?
not yet.
Okay.
We're closing out the project now. We still have punch list items that we're doing. In fact, one of them is fairly substantial. We're having the soffits removed from the amenities building because we didn't like the way they weren't staying where they were supposed to. So that work's being done this week. So little things like that, just trying to get things nailed down. We had to do some paving behind the building so that we had the fire lane at the correct width, and so there's some small things, but we're hoping to close it out by mid to late October because we want to move forward and take out the long-term bond by, I think it's third week in October, I think we were targeting.
Okay.
The idea also, sorry, just there's this money, there's the donation money, like 1.2 million. There's also the CPC funds of 1.2 million that were pledged for 800,000 from Hamilton and 400,000 from Wenham CPCs. Those will all reduce the overall cost. Once we actually,
About 4 million between
Yep.
donations, this and CPC.
correct.
And the donations did come in just a little bit under what we estimated, but I believe it was either 50 or 70,000 under. But still a substantial portion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions?
No.
All right, looks like we're ready to vote. All those in favor? That is unanimous of the 5 members present, and the motion passes.
Thank you, guys. Just before I sit down, I'd like to just take a moment to honor Don Gallant, who sadly passed away this week. Don proudly served on the school committee for nearly 20 years, and then he was hired by the business office to act as the regional school district treasurer, where he served for another 10 years. Don did a lot in helping pass the middle school vote in the early 90s and throughout his 30 years with the district, and he will be missed.
Oh, thanks for telling us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
20 years on the school committee. Yeah. Wow.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Great.
Incredible.
All right. Okay, thank you for that. Committee reports. Capital Finance,
We meet Monday.
excellent. All right. Do you have anything more to share about that, or just, that's it? Okay.
I think, aren't we looking at first
D.
budget drafts?
And we're looking at E&D too.
E&D and
And-
the structure of the debt for the turf field.
Right.
Okay, excellent, thank you.
So October
Policy?
6th.
We met this past Monday.
Great.
We approved some minutes. We went over the voting threshold document, which came out a lot more complicated than I thought it would, so
I thought it was complicated.
in the interest of bringing something to the full meeting that we can approve, I want to just take a little more time with the way it's organized, but all the information is in there. So we'll bring that to the 10/16 meeting for approval by this body.
Is it going to be graphically designed?
No. Typography will be great, but it won't be pretty.
She did format it much nicer than my Excel spreadsheet.
But it'll be like clickable and searchable.
Oh, great, thank you.
And what was the other thing I wanted to mention? Sorry, I had this written down. Oh, we discussed the graduation requirements, given the change in MCAS, or removal of MCAS, and that conversation is moving forward. And I think we still need to make a meeting date. Did we say
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
gonna,
Need to what?
make a next meeting date still?
I'm losing the last
Oh,
part of that sentence.
We still need to make a meeting date for next time.
Right.
Yeah. So I'll do that.
Yeah, I like to say, that's one of the things you can talk about as much as you want.
Is the meeting
You
date.
can even argue about it if you want to.
I don't want to. That's all.
Thank you. Negotiations, we did meet, I think, since the last time we saw, we did. And we gave some updates on the regional agreement, and,
things we'll talk about later.
yeah, oh, yeah. Yes, and we'll update you on the collective bargaining during executive session.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Do we have a secretary report?
No.
Okay. Will we have one next time?
Yes.
Excellent. All right. So, yeah, that is
I will talk to you about what you would like to see in that, because I
Excellent,
don't
okay.
really remember, but yes.
basically, yeah, but yes, we can talk about it. But it would be great to get just a regular, maybe every other meeting, secretary report.
Yes.
So we know what minutes are missing and keeping ourselves on top of things.
Yes.
So I noticed that the in our inboxes is on here. I don't know if our intent was really to put it on every time, but it is on here, and I
Yeah.
didn't really consult with you, so I don't know if you
That's okay.
have anything. for
Well,
us.
I don't.
Yeah.
I did not receive any.
There was,
I didn't receive
there was
any
not
emails.
much.
But you can feel free to leave it on every time. You don't
We'll
have
leave
to
it
ask
on
me
every time.
first.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about doing it as sort of a test run, so
Yeah.
we'll leave it on for a bit.
See how it goes.
Um,
And anyone else could.
It was actually surprisingly quiet.
Yes.
That's okay.
Yeah, that's all right, and that's,
And
we
that's okay
certainly
with that.
encourage feedback, but
Yes,
certainly not required, so.
that's correct. Please email us if you have something to say.
Thank you for that. Eric?
Superintendent's report, lots of interesting things happening. One of the things that I do want to address is there was an article in the Hamilton Wenham News, a local newspaper, written by a student at the high school. Well done. Article was really well done, really well researched. I think she did a fantastic job, and also
Yes.
opened some eyes, but also reminded us that, we can never kind of sit still and wait for things to happen. I responded to that, to the community, but I want to also kind of read this into the record. I think it's important to address publicly, but also to continue working towards some things, and I'll tell you in a second some of the other things we're looking at. So I sent out this letter the following Monday, and it says, I'm writing to address the recent article in the local news about anti-Semitic incidents that occurred at the Hamilton Wenham Regional High School during the 24-25 school year. These reports are deeply troubling and were addressed by the high school administration. I want to be absolutely clear. Anti-Semitism, racism, or any form of hate has no place in our schools. We also recognize the valid concerns raised in the article, particularly the need to clearly name these incidents for what they are, anti-Semitism. It is important to ensure our response is both visible and impactful, and we encourage everyone to report incidents that occur within our schools or at school events to any staff members. There are procedures in place to guide appropriate disciplinary responses, education, and prevention. As outlined in the article, the staff is trained to ensure prompt response to all incidents. In fact, over the last few years, we focused on addressing bias within our curriculum and classroom practices. A recent highlight was a student-led presentation to our high school staff on the topic of microaggressions. We recognize that this is an ongoing effort and remain committed to continuous review and improvement. I'd like to thank Cassie for writing the article in the HW News. It presents an opportunity to review our protocols and responses to incidents of hate, ensuring that all of our students feel a sense of belonging in our schools. We will also, well, two things. The first thing is this, the article actually gave people the opportunity to write to us and kind of tell us how they felt, and if they, in some cases wanted to know more, which is generally where we get stuck because a lot of that school discipline is covered under confidentiality. But the good thing is it helps us to have that conversation. Okay, where are we going? What are we doing? And some people even said, hey, just so you know, this happened here and this happened here. So it gives us another look at talking with some other groups of kids, bringing kids involved. The principal, Brian Menegoni, is working on kind of a group to, he's not sure what he's going to call it, but a group of kind of trusted individuals to be able to say, okay, this is what happened, how are we going to respond based on our protocols. We're also going to talk with kids next week. Brian and I will meet with each of the classes next week because it's important to help them understand it, but also to underscore the district's stance in this, that this stuff will not be tolerated. It's not funny, it's not cute, it's not foolish, it's exactly what it turns out to be, is anti-Semitism in this case, but whether it's racism or whatever, it won't be tolerated, and part of that is, again, educating our kids, helping them to understand it, and then really working with, we have opportunities to work with groups in our community. We have several groups who are involved in this work as well. They can kind of help us out. We've talked to the Lappin Foundation, we've talked to people at the ADL, and trying to just get some resources so that we can take advantage of that and get those out. So I just wanted to make sure that was public. Again, those things that kind of stick. I believe HW News will print this letter. They did ask for my permission to print it, which was fine. I just wanted to have it here as well. I think it's important to make sure everybody's on the same page. And it's hard to understand from a community perspective how this information gets out there if it doesn't. So I'm just trying to use any avenue we can to get this information out there.
That's good.
Questions?
Yeah, no, I appreciated that letter, and I also appreciate the fact that you are using the word anti-Semitism and calling it out. And, I think a lot of schools or a lot of leaders would kind of make excuses and deflect, but taking accountability and saying there's no excuse for this in our schools and we're holding ourselves accountable, I think is a really powerful statement. So I appreciate it.
I appreciate that it was so forceful.
Yeah.
I felt that some of the administration's statements in that article were, to a certain extent, poo-pooing it. Oh, kids will be kids. Kids are never kids when it's anti-Semitism and racism. Like, you have to take that seriously every time it happens. So,
Yeah.
I liked your statement, Eric.
Anybody else? Thank you. Did you have other things?
That is all for now.
Yeah, just one thing. There was although this was in England today, there was a multiple stabbing at a synagogue, and so there's a heightened fear of violence associated with anti-Semitism. Is there anything that we're doing from a security point of view?
Specific to that, no. I mean, we do have security protocols. Oddly, last week we met with all of our leadership team members. As you know, I go around to all the buildings, and I had to underscore the fact that Doors need to be closed and locked at all times during the school day. So simple things like that, making sure doors are closed and locked, making sure people have, are not pegging doors so that they can get back in because they forgot their access card. We do have an active camera system. We have connection with the police departments, fire departments if we need them. We really consider what we do to be the kind of the first line of defense, if you will. And it's really like, see something, say something. If you see something unusual, we're pretty fortunate. Even our youngest kids will say, "Who is that?" They know us by what we wear, and they can identify the differences. So that's also helpful. We've done a lot of work too with our vendors and our workers with identifying them with quarries and fingerprints and making sure they're escorted when they need to be. So there are things in place. We have school resource officer on site every day. She generally goes around to school throughout the day. So that's also an added. I mean, it's the beauty of two small communities is that the police departments are right in our backyard. So they can respond fairly quickly if we do have incidents. But yeah, it's a scary time. Scary time.
No, thank you.
Okay. So I don't have much of a chair's report. I do want to just mention, David, I just wanted to mention, David is intending to go to the MASC conference.
I'm booked.
You're booked, excellent.
Uh,
So that will mean, and I did already send you in, you're already the alternate delegate, so you'll be fine. I don't intend to go. So you're all signed up for that. It does mean for the committee too, I will put on our next agenda, an agenda before the conference. MASC has resolutions usually, and we would need to vote to direct David
What to vote
how to
for?
vote.
Yeah.
So I will figure out what those are, and we'll put them on the agenda. Anybody have any questions for me? Okay. Topics for future meetings? I guess that was one, I guess.
Yeah.
Put those on there, yeah.
And then the vote on the voting threshold guide,
Okay,
please.
and that's for next meeting, you're going to be, right, okay. Is that what we're calling it, voting threshold
Yes,
Yep.
voting threshold guide.
guide? Okay. Anybody have anything else?
But they can also have the graduation
Oh, you're going to have the graduation
competency determination.
competency policy. It's a, right, it's be a policy,
It's
right?
a new policy,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
Has to be voted and then submitted to the state.
okay. I look forward to
At some
talking about
point in
that.
time, do we want to discuss that policy about anonymous reports with the whole committee? Because
Yeah.
I wasn't on policy when those were gone through
I
last, and so I'm not sure the history of that.
have an email into MASC just to get guidance on.
Okay, so we can handle it in negotiations and put it on later.
In policy, yeah, we'll
Policy,
That's what I meant.
meet again about it before
Sorry.
going here. Yep.
And, yeah, I mean, and obviously, policy can always decide to bring it to the whole committee if you ever
Yes.
want to. That's up to you.
Okay.
Okay,
I move to adjourn
can't do it to adjourn.
Okay.
I mean, you
to
can.
executive session.
You can, but I'm going to jump in and move, so unless anybody has anything else. Okay. I move to adjourn into executive session under GLC 30A, Section 21A, Number 2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, Eric Tracy, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel, and executive session under GLC 30A, Section 21A, Number 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining, the AFSCME, or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares, not to return to open session.
Second.
Second by Julia, possibly reluctantly. Do we need a roll call vote to adjourn into executive session?
Yes.
Dana's a yes. Amy?
Yes.
Julia?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, and it is unanimous, and we are adjourned into executive session and not to return.